No difference. You can't get rid of my divinity.
No, there's no getting away from it.
Namaste, Sanjeev bhaiya.
नमस्ते शीला दीदी, नमस्ते राकेश भैया, सभी को नमस्ते।
नमस्ते नमस्ते अनिशा दीदी, नमस्ते अश्विनी,
नमस्ते संजीव भाई जी।
नमस्ते
नमस्ते शिव।
नमस्ते।
नमस्ते सभी को।
सभी को
सभी को
नमस्ते।
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 सभी को नमस्ते।
very nice. Okay, so I think we are having sufficient number of people to start the session, or maybe 1 more minute we'll wait.
9 participants.
Yeah.
Hello, Richa.
Hello, Auntie. Okay, I'll just turn off my.
Okay, so I think we will start now. So welcome everyone. So today is our 24th session of Manav Vyavhar Darshan, English reading sessions. And this will be by Sheila Didi, Sheila Gopala Didi, who is from Dehradun. Presently, she is in Hyderabad. So I have known Sheila Didi for how many years? 20 years now. Yeah, and I mean, they are basically good friends. Ashok Bhaiya, Sheila Didi, and children. They are family friends, right?
Yeah.
And it's our friendship has actually stood the test of time. Have really have learned from each other and supported each other in the time of difficulty. And at least I have got a number of times supported by Ashok Bhaiya and Sheila Didi. So much grateful for their understanding. So one of the things that I have actually seen is that their focus is to whatever is they understand from darshan to bring it into living. That is the focus that they actually bring, and in a very intuitive and natural way. So that is something which really appeals. And now the other thing is that their children, especially Drishta, is now fully engaged into uh, uh, conducting shivers of Jivan Vidya and presenting its content and so on. So it is wonderful to have Sheila Didi here. She will continue from the point Chani Didi had left on the chapter number 8, that is Drishta, Drishya, uh, Drishti, right? That is
Chapter 9.
chapter 9. Yeah, okay. Yeah, thanks for that. So welcome, Didi, and please, I'll hand it over to you now. Maybe you could start by talking something about yourself. It was a very nice write-up
Yeah.
that you had sent.
Right. Thank you, Rakesh Bhaiya, and definitely mutual admiration and support we have received from you all, and togetherness with your family. So, yeah, about myself, as I mentioned in the introduction also, and this chapter also, I think I am a good example of, if you don't do Adhyan, you're not going to get anywhere. Because though we joined in 92, there's this big pride ki, शादी से पहले से है, 92 से है. and we use numbers in our introduction. But like we know inside, right? There was no clarity until I decided to go in for Adhyan. I mean, the reason for doing proper Pathan Adhyan, that kind of Adhyan was a good 15 years after, we were first introduced to it. And I think a good 5-7 years after the books were even written. So there was no commitment at that time when the books were written ki nahi karenge, Baba ji ne likhi hai. It was only when the need arose, when that dissatisfaction, discontent with whatever one has imagined and thought, some bondage of vichar and of thoughts and imagination was there. And only till we left that and said, okay, now we have to go in with Mera to chala nahi, so let's do what this, we have already, committed to this philosophy. So I'm going to do it the way this person is saying it. Babaji has said, Adhyan karo. Uske bina kaam nahi chalega. So then finally committed to that. And quantum leaps in clarity after that. Still not complete, of course, but that self shanti, that satisfaction that comes, that is there definitely. So that's why I say, like, bina adhyan ka nahi kaam chalega. You have to do adhyan, you have to read, you have to study, you have to internalize, think it, live, then come back to the drawing board. That cycle it's an iterative process. And I usually use this analogy that it's like you're doing BA or BSc. Actually, it's a BSc. BSc Madhyasth Darshan, it's you're doing like a graduation. It's so technical, as if you're doing your studies in college. It's so technical. The framework is there, the curriculum is there, the content is there, and you have to study it like a student. That's my introduction.
Okay, very nice, Didi. So I'll share you the chapter.
Yeah. So I'll start off this. It's chapter 9. Holistic view, of the book Holistic View of Human Behavior. And the name of the chapter is Worldview, Perceivable Reality and Perspective. And why I mentioned that it is from this book, because it's talking about humane behavior or human behavior. So the chapter is related to that, right? We can't take away the human behavior aspect of it. We have to keep it in mind. That's what I'm saying. We have to keep that point in mind. So I'll start with the review of the first half of the chapter that Chani had read and elaborated on. So we read in the first part an analysis of what is darshan or what is worldview, how worldview influences one's goals, and how drishti or perspective helps us to arrive at a worldview. Then another important point was the holistic darshan or this worldview is based on the perspectives of nyaya, dharma, and satya, justice, dharma, and truth. Then a human's receptivity and ability to understand a humane darshan is affected by their environment, study, and prior sanskar or their acceptances. Then we also studied that the study for arriving at a darshan includes the study of treatise, poetry, and history. Another point was that different kinds of environment also affect our abilities, whether they are natural or man-made. Both these environments affect our abilities. So the man-made environment can be that, this is my opinion, can be that of the physical elements that we design, or it can be, which is more important, and that is our social environment that we have made around us. Then another learning was that our sanskar can or our prior sanskar can be humane or inhumane. And I think one of the most important points in this one, which is what the main message of this chapter is, that differentiation in worldview leads to the differentiation in goals. So if we want to live in collaboration, like in an Akhand Samaj, then we need a common goal. And if you need a common goal, then you have to have a shared worldview. And the shared worldview can only be one that is common, which is right. Which, like Babaji has said, sahi mein ek, galti mein anek. Like humankind is united in the right and divided if they are wrong. So that was one of the more important messages from this entire chapter. Another one is that we can only come to this correct darshan by understanding the principles behind the reality, the laws and the processes and the results of the activity, the perceivable reality that we are observing. Then if we don't have a holistic worldview with justice, dharma and truth, we will always be in bondage of our thoughts and imagination. Whereas what we really want is our innate desire is liberation, moksha. Bondage to our thoughts and imagination prevents us achieving our own innate desire for happiness. So this is what we studied in the first half of this chapter. Now we progress to the question of what is there this worldview. Obviously, it's of the world in general, but precisely what is it? So we'll start reading. It's on page 140. The worldview is only of the units of nature, and therefore studying the form, attributes, intrinsic nature, and dharma of units is imperative. The study of the entire universe pertains to its insentience, sentience, and omnipresence only. This is evident as physical, chemical, and jivan activities. So here we are being informed by the author, Shri A. Nagraj, that darshan is of the unit. It will be the units along with the form, the properties, the innate nature, and the dharma. And also their continuous activities, their continuousness while being submerged in space. Darshan will also be of the insentient qualities, the sentient or conscious jivan qualities, as well as understanding that all matter and activities are submerged in space. I mean, that part is there continuously. Let's continue reading to the next Anubhuti. So humans have performed the study of the entire universe from 6 perspectives, which are pleasant, unpleasant, healthy, unhealthy, profit, loss, justice, injustice, dharma, dharma, and truth, untruth. Next, the aspirations of happiness give rise to intent. The intent gives rise to need. The need gives rise to study. Study gives rise to potential. Potential gives rise to holistic perspective. Holistic perspective gives rise to the holistic view. And the holistic view gives rise to clarity, and clarity gives rise to definite plan. We'll continue and we'll come back to this later. The perspectives of pleasant, unpleasant, healthy, unhealthy, and profit loss are active in humans in temptation of wealth, earth, and sensory desire or calm. In addition, the perspectives of justice, injustice, dharma, dharma, and truth, untruth are active from resolves of dharma and moksha. The liberation from delusion is itself is moksha. The next one also, the desire and inquiry towards moksha and dharma are needed for attaining humaneness and higher humaneness. Next, Due to delusion, temptation is the initial trigger for pursuit of comfort and accumulation. Intent refers to thoughts with the possibility of meaningful achievement, and need refers to that without which satisfaction is not possible. So we'll go through these anubhutis one at a time. Start from this one. The humans have performed the study. So we come to the point that when we study something as students, we would come with some perspective already. And these perspectives would be influenced by our temptations at that time. The temptations could be of pleasant, unpleasant, healthy, unhealthy, or profit and loss. Whatever will be the temptations at that time, the perspectives at that time, those are what will attract us, right, to the study. So the aspiration for happiness leads to an intent. The intent leads to a need. And when you take responsibility for fulfilling that need, you have to educate yourself. So you study. So when you study, it helps you to achieve your potential, your highest potential to understand. Achieving this potential will give you the right or holistic perspective. This leads to the holistic view, and therefore then you will have clarity. And once there is clarity among a significant number of people, whether in a family or in a community, this will give rise to a definite plan, and then you can live it out harmoniously. So I find this very relevant because we realize that a worldview or a darshan, with it, along with it, there needs to be some manifestation, some action related to it. It's necessary for the darshan to be manifested. Otherwise it will be just, some people, hypothesizing for the sake of some intellectual self-gratification. So that's why we need to evidence it. We need to manifest it. This anubhuti, this realization also connects with the completions in the field of study. There are 9 completions which we read in the education policy. Darshan ke saath kriya paksh. Yeah, we know that philosophy is being taught in society even now, but connecting to how it will live out is also important. The existential reality, the logical aspect of it, as well as the behavioral aspect of it. Then the definite plan only comes from, again, the same point. The definite plan comes only from a common and therefore right worldview, which will lead to collaboration amongst all the humans, leading to an undivided society. Yeah. So this is why this is important. Now, since this is an anubhuti, we'd also need to realize that the aspirations, even if they are inhumane, right? An inhumane aspiration will give rise to an inhumane intent, which will give rise to inhuman need, and that the study will also be partial. Then the study will give rise to a partial or, incomplete potential. And the potential will again give rise to an incomplete perspective, and unsatisfactory perspective will give rise to an incomplete holistic view, which will lead to lack of clarity. When there is lack of clarity, there will be lack of a definite plan, which is what we are all facing, as the human race is facing now. So we'll go on to the next anubhuti. So the perspectives of pleasant, unpleasant, the healthy, unhealthy, profit, loss. This is a description. It's like a vishleshan of the, an analysis of the previous realization, right? This is describing the different kinds of aspirations mentioned in the previous point. Arth, Kam, Dharm, Moksha, right? Arth is wealth, then Kam is sensory gratification, Dharm and liberation. The 4 aspirations are being mentioned, and these 4 aspirations will continue through the chapter. So the aspirations of Dharm and Moksha are also important, because we won't strive for humaneness. without that aspiration. We call it an aspiration or a temptation. It's what attracts us, right? We are attracted to that when we need it, we are tempted, or we are aspiring for it. We continue. This is done. Yeah. Now, due to delusion, temptation is the initial trigger. This point are basically definitions. You can see that there is a definition for temptation, definition for intent, and a definition for need. Connecting to that previous realization of the cycle. So here temptation is an okay word if it is defined as the initial phase of mental or intellectual preparation for attaining any end, be it calm, sensory gratification, or earth, that is wealth, or dharma and liberation. Yeah. So that preparation is necessary, mentally. That they're calling, Babaji is calling temptation. And again, wealth does not necessarily mean only accumulation. Earth or wealth can be a humane need also, which we'll see later on, because Dev Manav or the deific human also has a need for wealth. Intent, we come to intent. Intent refers to thoughts with the possibility of any achievement, whether meaningful or unmeaningful. Because it's an anubhuti, it's a realization. It also refers to all the possibilities. This is similar to the realization that says differentiation in worldview leads to differentiation in goals, right? So differentiation of intent will lead to a different potential or capability rather. So in this, at the end of this now, what is this process of study? They've mentioned that you need to study, that you will study if you have any aspiration. So what is the process of study? What is potential? What are perspectives, etc.? And how are they all interrelated? We come to the next anubhuti, realization. Study refers to the activity, process, and endeavor along with remembrance in the witness of the seat of knowledge or Atma and in the light of realization. One's receptivity is one's qualification, and the deliberation activity with this qualification is referred to as perspective. The impression activity through this perspective is referred to as the worldview. These are again definitions for the previous realization. Definition of study, receptivity, potential, perspective, and worldview. So we can see that the study is helping you through that spiral of receptivity and capability, and it's helping you through that to achieve your highest potential. And how can these help us reach a balanced worldview? Like we all have the 10 powers and forces, Bal and Shakti of Jivan. And utilizing all 10 of these is our potential. That's through with that point. Now we come to the second requirement of a worldview. At the beginning of the chapter, it was written that what is essential for worldview is the viewer, the reality, perceivable reality, and the perception. Now we're going to see what is this perceivable reality or drishya. Yeah. Kriya matra hi drishya hai. Sorry, in English. The perceivable reality is only the activities, which is referred to as the world. The worldview of the perceivable reality and realization of the invisible of omnipresence is well established. Next, coexistence itself is the entire perceivable reality. Next, the realization of the insentient and sentient nature saturated in the omnipresent entity is indicative of the complete awakening of a unit of knowledge order. So these three anubhutis will take together. So worldview is of the sentient and insentient units submerged in space or the omnipresent. That is what we are calling darshan or worldview. And the perceivable reality is the activities of those units. The drishya is the activities. Darshan is of the units. Awakening happens when the human realizes the coexistence of sentient and insentient units in omnipresent space. So the drishya and the darshan and the anubhav of the darshan, of the space, all together will lead to awakening. Now, why Adhyan? Or, I mean, we can take this as why Adhyan, or we can also see what human beings have endeavored for till now. Right? So we'll read the next realization. All human endeavors that are plagued and engaged in worldly cravings only result in the pain of effort. This is the reason humans have also endeavored to become liberated from the pain of effort, which became successful or unsuccessful depending on their potential, ability, and receptivity. Next, humans have endeavored to critically review inhumaneness and study humaneness and higher humaneness. The perspectives, natures, and propensity of these three have been described earlier. Yeah, we'll pause there, take these. What I understand from this is that in the process of attempting to be liberated from worldly cravings, for happiness, humans have studied inhumanness, and this led to failure. They studied likes and dislikes, healthy, unhealthy, profit, unprofit, servileness, treachery, cruelty, food, rest, fear, sex. All this they did, explore, but it all led to failure. Also, because study can only be of units, their qualities and their activities, these three things, humans also tried to study humaneness and higher humaneness, even though it, whether it was in some small time and space. But they did try it. And in this, they were successful or unsuccessful, depending on their receptivity, capability, or their potential, and whether they had reached the highest potential. So they have done that. That's what we are being informed here by Babaji. So we'll continue. Now this part is all information from him. The space or omnipresence itself is knowledge. Omnipresence itself is omnipotence. The conduct of nature saturated in the omnipresent omnipotence itself is the law in existence. Next, every activity is regulated by law. And next, the subject or the human, the propensity, and the object, that is the physical world, all three are activities. So here again, we are being informed that space is omnipresent and omnipotent. It is the law in existence. All activities are regulated by laws, and humans with their propensities and their physical world are also regulated by these laws. Yeah, these 3 points are going together. Going ahead also is connected. So, yeah, another point that this actually connects with the Mrit Krishna point also, the mirage or the illusion point, that the perpetual pursuit of that which cannot be fulfilling is inherently unfulfilling. This is what we read in the first half of the lesson. So when we study the units and their activities, it is the laws that bring us closer to the realization of that space, of that omnipresence. So when we study humaneness and higher humaneness, it is the intellectual and behavioral cohesiveness or the laws behavior and social laws that bring us closer to the realization of the omnipresent space, because they have similar qualities, let's say. So we'll read that the Anubhuti. Humans have endeavored and awaited to achieve restfulness through materialistic pursuit. No, we've already read this. Sorry. Next one. All activities are regulated and protected within the omnipotence. Since there is no lack of omnipotence between one unit and another, it proves that omnipotence is the cause of the law and regulation. Humans have made, are making, and will continue to make endeavors at different levels to attain the potential, ability, and receptivity for perception, comprehension, intuition, and realization of this omnipotence. So this is the fundamental reality, that all actions are regulated due to saturation of matter in the omnipotent. Omnipotent is the cause of that law and regulation, and all human behavior is also governed by laws. These laws are universal and they're natural, right? If we go against it, we'll be frustrated with failure. If we understand and live according to the laws, we'll be successful and happy. So we have to achieve our potential, that potential of realizing the omnipresent, as well as understanding the perceivable reality. So space and Drishya both have to be understood. So the next point, there's one more point in this aspect in this, which I have not covered. And that is that we will continue to make endeavors at different levels to attain the potential, ability, and receptivity for perception, comprehension, intuition, and realization. So these 4 levels of realizing, towards realizing omnipotence, perception, comprehension, intuition. These are also very heartening, because you will first, while you're studying it, first you'll just get the word. Then you might get a slight understanding of it. Then you might, as you go further into the study, your ability and capability improves. You'll, have a deeper understanding of it. And finally, when all things fall in place and all the pieces of the jigsaw puzzle are there, finally you will be realized. And we're still waiting for that point. Okay. Now the question is, how can we achieve this potential, right? We all want it and we're waiting for it, but we have to endeavor. What do we do for reaching this point? So at the root of above endeavor is the human potential. At the root of human potential is the study. At the root of study is the receptivity. At the root of receptivity is the ability. At the root of ability is the literature practice, behavior practice, and work practice. At the root of practice are the deployment of means, which are body, mind, and wealth. And at the root of deployment of means is the cohesiveness. At the root of cohesiveness is the human endeavor, which is according to their respective situation and awakening. So in order to reach our potential of realization of the omnipresent, from perception to cognition, cognition to intuition, and finally realization of the omnipresent reality, we need to deploy all our means, namely the body, jivan, and resources, towards the study of the natural laws. Now here, this is one of those cyclic anubhutis, very tricky. But there's one word in this which is cohesive. Everything makes sense in it. Yeah, we have to deploy, we have to do all these things, we have to study. But what is this cohesiveness? Yeah. So the next Anubhuti gives a definition for that. Adherence of received signals among humans or jivans for the purpose of mutual resolution is referred to as cohesiveness. So if humans were cohesive only for gaining sensory gratification and wealth, then they would deploy their means and practice and increase their abilities and receptivity for that purpose. Yeah, they would study those aspects of the world that help them in the sensory gratification and the accumulation of wealth. Yeah, they would achieve their potential in gaining those things. But we know that these ultimately do not lead to any kind of awakening or liberation from the pain of effort, right? So people are coming together for some purpose, for some aspiration, but they aren't coherent with each other. There's no single sense for them to come together. This eksutrata or this cohesiveness, how can this happen? Let's read the next Anubhuti. The cohesiveness and awakening in humankind is achieved only through adherence to clearly given signals by one who is awakened. Otherwise, there is delusion and decline. And the next one also. It is not possible to evidence awakening through a deluded person addressing another deluded person or through inhumane education. Only an awakened person can show the path of awakening to a deluded person, and that itself is the evidence of their awakening. Yeah, so both of these points together, we'll take them together. So cohesiveness or coherence mentioned in the previous Anubhuti says we need to deploy all our means. Plus, we have to have cohesiveness, between the awakened and the deluded person. Now, this one did mention signals, and I was a little thrown by the signals because the sanket or signals have been mentioned throughout this book in various contexts, whether the signals are within the jivan, from one part of the jivan to the other, or between the brain and the body, or between awakened atma and the man of the same jivan. Several contexts were there. But here, if we read these three points together, then we realize the context is the signals from an awakened person, awakened atma / person, or and between them and a deluded or person, that and a student. Let's not call them deluded people. We are students.
Yes.
So this also connects to the study aspect, that is necessary. It connects to study because if you're going to study, then you need a teacher or somebody who already knows, right? So that's necessary to achieve one's potential, along with the environment and the prior sanskar, which we mentioned at the beginning of the chapter. So it's continuing from there, right? That adhyan wala aspect is continuing from there. Now the next section of this chapter talks about the whole and the part, and I think it pertains to the study of the perceivable reality, the study part of it, and also about cohesiveness between humans. So we'll just go through it. Every unit is only a part compared to the infinite. The constitution of every unit has many parts. Next. Cohesiveness cannot be accomplished through fragmentation because every activity is based on a certain constitution. The fragmentation of any activity is accompanied by friction or heat or unhappiness. And this friction, heat, or unhappiness again becomes the cause of fragmentation of others. Fragmentation cannot erase the existence of any entity because something still remains even as we continue to fragment mathematically. In human society, this fragmentation is seen in the form of sectarian divisions, whereas all humans are recognized as one unit with cohesiveness in indivisibility. Yeah, so these points are all pertaining to study also and the cohesiveness also. So I think that it's also referring to the reductionist way that we are at present education is being taught, or the very partitioned type. as compared to a holistic or integrated kind of education. And holistic also, where you're considering the whole of existence and whatever you're studying is a part of the whole. So that view is being talked about over here, both the views, the fragmented part as well as the other. So the deluded or unawakened person will tend to give, fragmented information. They can only see that much, right? So they will give fragmented information, and that will lead to inhumane education, which will lead to a fragmented society. Whereas if we present the world with the eye of wholeness, entirety, and also the eye of, commonness. So this would be, what would this be? This would be like behavioral and social laws that are universal, and then coherence amongst the people. So that kind of a view. So that, as well as the with the eye of the whole, this is all part of one existence, all being coming under one law, which is the law and regulation, because we are all submerged in space. That kind of a view would be closer to the truth. And this is the coexistential approach. So yeah, that's one section of this chapter. Now we come to a section of the chapter which talks about the human behavior. Yeah, it's a study and analysis of human behavior. This also gives us a continuum of development of the human behavior. So it's very beautiful because you can see yourself as a part of the continuum. You're not just a static entity. So yeah, let's read it and then we'll enjoy it. Human behavior has the differentiation of worldly and spiritual. Entire worldly behavior is differentiated as selfish and altruistic, whereas spiritual behavior is differentiated as seedful and seedless. Selfish behavior or temptation is differentiated by the pursuit of material wealth, earth, and sensory desire or calm. Altruistic behavior is differentiated by dharma and material wealth or earth. Divine or benevolent thought and behavior is differentiated by dharma and moksha. There's still more. All behavior based on the laws necessary for humaneness, according to moral policy and governance policy, is referred to as ethical, whereas behavior based on inhumaneness due to delusion is referred to as unethical. Selfish behavior is differentiated as ethical and unethical. It is related with one's own people, own group, own caste, own mind, own community, own view, and own language. Whereas benevolent behavior is differentiated as it's being related with all people, all groups, all castes, all minds, all communities, all views, and all languages. Yeah, we'll pause over there. So once again, we can see that it's a continuum. It's not a judgment like you are like this only types, and you are good or you are bad or you're ugly. There is an evaluation, but there's no judgment per se. There is evaluation of the present, a path with milestones, and a goal of benevolence. So when you read, so this is the beautiful part of it. Then the second part, which also came to my mind, was it also appeals to our innate need to be good, to be right, which is there right from childhood. So when we read selfish or unethical, you don't want to be that. So you have something to aspire to. There was one observation that this benevolent behavior, which is related to all people, it might also be altruistic. that we'll have to see whether it is benevolent as well as altruistic. But let's see, we'll see that later. We'll continue this section, continue reading. So the tendency to believe one's own people, own wealth, and own comfort to be important, and that of others to be unimportant, is referred to as selfishness. Whereas the tendency and behavior to believe other people and their wealth and comfort to be more important is referred to as altruistic. So this is a definition of the previous section. Now they're all definitions of the previous section that we had read of human behavior. Yeah. The attachment in the instincts quad is seedful. And behavior with the desires trio is seedful in the context of indivisible society and universal system. Then the thought liberated from desires is seedless, which is the intrinsic nature of divine humans. So these are all definitions. One point that is useful over here when we are, making that, analysis of the human kind is that seedful, the aspect of seedful. So the instinct squad is definitely seedful. No? Eating, sleeping, defending, mating. These are definitely seedful. There are definite expectations from it. But even the desires trio, which is there in humans and higher humans, that is also being said as seedful, because here also you have an expectation, you have a desire. So, the desires trio was righteous desires for progeny, wealth, and reputation. Putreshna, Viteshna, and Lokeshna. Yeah. So these are also seedful. But the last one, the thought that is liberated from desires, is seedless. And that is only in the divine no. I have made a chart for this. I'll share it at the end, because it gives a nice view of where we have to go. So let's continue. The conceit and ego found in the individualistic understanding of existence itself is the cause of narrow-mindedness and tribulation. So when one considers the individual to be bigger than the collective, it leads to a narrow worldview. And then that will definitely lead to, might give you temporary, happiness, but in the end it leads to grief and tribulations. Next, Anubhuti. The real understanding of the entirety of existence leads to the attainment of generosity, gratitude, and realization in the omnipresent omnipotence eradicates delusion. So we have, heard around us or read about it, that we've heard of Ubuntu. I am what I am because of who we all are together. Then we talk about the common good. Yeah. Those facilities that are for everyone, not just for one category. Then there is the collective good. You don't exclude, these resources benefit a whole group of people, and it's not, you don't exclude anybody from this. So these words are there, these thoughts are there. Somewhere actions are also there, of Ubuntu or common good or collective good. Yeah. So the human race has envisioned this kind of thing, albeit in just pockets of space, somewhere around the world, and also pockets of time. Kabhi karte the, now they don't do it, Even we find ourselves, sometimes we are very altruistic and sometimes we're very selfish. So these pockets are there, and it's not continuous till now. And that is what Babaji is also saying in the last point, yeah, that we have envisioned it, yeah, but there is no evidence of humane thoughts without holistic view of reality. No evidence of tendency in the humane work and behavior without humane thoughts. No evidence of conflictness in self without cohesiveness in behavior. No evidence of conflictless society without conflictlessness in self. No evidence of coexistence or universal system without conflictless society. No evidence of resolution and prosperity without coexistence. No evidence of heavenliness without resolution and prosperity. No evidence of complete study of wisdom and science without heavenliness. And no evidence of holistic view of reality without complete study of wisdom and science. So I also find it a little difficult to comprehend, things when they are given in negative. Yeah, there's none of this without that. So I'm trying to make a chart to show it in the positive way. So, Bhaiya, I'll share that. Where is the share thing? Share screen. Yeah. So this last point actually, I see it like this, that the complete study, to reach that point, 1 second, to reach that point of heavenliness, that point of liberation where we are all together and we have realized we have the darshan of the units and their activities, and we have the anubhav, the realization of the space, and together we have coexistence. We can realize coexistence. So for that, what do we have to do? We start from this complete study of wisdom and science, which will lead to a holistic view of reality, which will lead to humane thoughts, which will lead to tendency to humane work and behavior. This will lead to conflict-free self and conflict-free behavior, which will lead to conflict-free society, which will lead to coexistence, resolution and prosperity, and therefore heavenliness. Can you see the heavenliness? I think you can. So that is that. And then, so I'm through with my presentation, but then there was this part, which was the analysis of the human behavior, right? So there you can see the human behavior is worldly or spiritual. Worldly can be selfish or altruistic. Spiritual will be benevolent. So basically, these are this vocabulary, and one, it is vocabulary. Second, the activities, that kind of behavior will look like, and then it's also this continuum, to see where you are and where you want to be. So the selfish can be unethical as well as ethical. You can have unethical sensory gratification or unethical wealth, and these will be seen in deluded humans. Then ethical sensory gratification and ethical wealth will be in humans. In the altruistic behavior, the deific human or the Dev Manav will be motivated by dharma and again wealth. Yeah, because that they are in the realm of indivisible society. That's their priority. For that also they need wealth. And finally, the divine human. No. In the benevolent human also there is dharma and moksha. So they will want to participate in vyavastha, in society. That part might be seedful. This is also deific human. So all the blue is deific human. And then finally there is the divine human that has only the need for moksha. And that is, he has no expectations. They will only do karuna. What is karuna? Compassion. So this is a continuum. Like find your place and find your goal and just take the next steps through study. Stop share.
That's very nice, Devi.
My thing is over. Thank
Very
you all
nice
for listening.
explanation. Ji, very nice explanation and very nice charts. Didi.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. So, Sheila Didi, thank you so much. And I'll now open the floor for any questions that might be there by anyone, or anybody wants to make a observation based on the presentation or otherwise.
Shilpa.
Ji Didi.
Yeah, so thank you, Didi. It was really, really nice. And the charts really explained the chapter very well. Like, I mean, after looking at that Manav's chart, it was so clear. So very nice flow, like how you captured it. I just had one question. I mean, if you have the time to explain it. Like in this Samashti, I'm just reading in Hindi because it's in front of me. This thing, Samashti ke astitva ki yatharth samajh se udarta evam kritagita. So I just wanted to know more about udarta in this. Like kritagita, I can understand that it's gratitude. But if you can just explain more about that, udarta.
Just one moment, I'm looking for it. Well, anyway, I
The
mean,
second last. Yeah, so in that context, I wanted to just understand the second last anubhuti.
ये रहा समष्टि के अस्तित्व की यथार्थ समझ से उदारता एवं कृतज्ञता की उपलब्धि होती है. Right. So when you have seen the whole, right? You've seen the whole, you've seen, and you've reached some level of understanding of your place in that whole. You've also tried to live it. I mean, this is not just an intellectual exercise. You are understanding living. So now when you've understood, you're saying yatharth ki samajh. So you have already lived a lot, right? And you've come to certain conclusions, and you've also relaxed a lot in terms of your own wealth and resources. So samashti ke astitva ki yatharth samajh se udarta. So I'll explain kritagita first. I mean, because that is more obvious, right? You feel you have already gone through the cycle of understanding your relationships, right? And you do feel kritagita towards them. That has been kind of solidified, and it's not the right word, but that's the word that's coming to my mind, right? And regarding the whole, you're more what is the word I'm thinking of? Santusht hua. You're more satisfied with all you have identified your needs, right? You have identified your needs. You've seen that Astitva has more than, and even Dharti has more than you actually need. And therefore you feel more relaxed and you feel more giving. So that udarta comes when you're more relaxed and you've identified your needs and you're feeling more relaxed about it. I'm using very halka words, not very technical words, because I don't remember the technical words in English. But this is what I understand by it. You become more generous, right? You feel, acha le lo, mere paas to bahut hai. I don't need so much anyway. And anyway, I'm living according to it. My family's needs are identified. So then you feel more relaxed about your wealth and your resources. That's how I understand it. Anybody else can add.
Can we take like this? We understand coexistence, and I mean to say relation. We are related to. We are rather to be related. और एक जब समझ में आता है तो उधर तो अपने आप आ जाती है. There is no other ऐसा हो जाता है ना.
True. That's also a good point. That when you understand Astitva, you also see all the sambandh in between those, right? And when you identify with everyone, you are feeling sympathetic towards them. You have empathy towards them. You have recognized your relationship. You are living the values. So then udarta aayegi hi. Then generosity will definitely come. That is also there.
Okay, very nice, Didi and Bhaiya. Thank you.
Very well. So, anyone else wants to say something or add to this discussion?
Shubha Devi.
Ji Shubha Devi.
Yes, Sheila Bhabhi. First thing is that I am touched with your honesty.
Thank you.
That was really good. Where you explained that after so many years you realized, and it's like it's actually your understanding that you said this and you realized that. So
Yeah.
that was the one thing. And then my question is regarding that again, how you put benevolence with respect in context to the divine human and deific human, like how you are going to place it.
I didn't fully understand the
In
question.
your chart, you have put the benevolent thing. Can you put that chart?
I'll put that chart again. Huh.
So here, I can't see that. Yes. If you see
Yeah.
that in right side, there is benevolent thought and behavior, and in both deific human and divine human, you have put this. So I just wanted more clarity on this part, how you're seeing this.
I was just mapping whatever was written, actually.
Mhm.
Let me read it again.
No, when someone puts it like this, it becomes clear that I have not understood this part very well. That's why I'm asking.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, while reading, sometimes I feel that I have got that point.
Yeah. Okay, now I get it. So you're saying that benevolent behavior has dharma as well as moksha. That's your question?
Yes, dharma, moksha, and then seedless and seedful. Like how you are correlating this. What do you mean by benevolent thought and behavior at when you're talking with deific human and when you're talking with divine human?
Yeah. So anyway, that's the Hindi word is parmarth, right?
Mhm.
And the of the last one, and pararth is the altruistic behavior.
Mhm.
Yeah, is this part. I'm not actually getting it.
Where it starts.
Matlab it starts there, it's benevolence, but it is benevolence with some expectation, because you are expecting vyavastha, you are contributing to the to the orderliness, and that is the dharma part. I'm guessing. This is my estimation. Yeah. So there is some expectation in it.
Yeah, I could add to this.
Yeah.
So one of the thing that uh, basically Babaji said, and it is also quite intuitive, that when we actually understand and live, we also start sharing our understanding with others. And when we share that understanding with others, we don't expect anything in return for that, right? So in that sense, upkar or benevolence is something that starts much earlier, like that starts at the human stage itself. Okay, the parmarth actually starts, but in terms of the priority, the focus is more in terms of our uh, 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 for our children, for our wealth. But when it comes to explaining the giving gyan to others, we don't expect anything in return for that. So in that sense, upkar is is seedless even in the stage of a human. लेकिन मानव पद में भी उपकार जो है वो शुद्ध ही होता है, निरामय होता है, right? It is not in it doesn't have any expectation of return, but your mind is engaged more, or mind and your actions are engaged more with your family. While in the case of deific human or Dev Manav, your mind is engaged more with the altruistic ends, or what you can do for the society, right? How you can actually build a world which is uh, more humane. So that is your how you can actually make a bigger outreach. So that is your focus, and when you are deific human. But still, when you are actually enabling others, right? That at that time, actually, you are not expecting anything in return. You don't do that out of any expectation.
Mm.
So, so the uh, difference between Manav, Dev Manav, and Divya Manav is in terms of only in terms of the degree of benevolence that what they are able to do. In terms of their sthiti or their capability, they are the same. All of them have the realization. But in terms of their engagement with the world, that actually there is a difference between them. Right? So that's something I wanted to share.
Mhm.
Yeah, I
Right.
remember this now.
So I get it in this way, Paya and Sheila Bhabi, that uh, the expectation, degree of expectation is also different if we talk in this way. Like there is no expectation at all, means there will be no program or something like.
No, that's not the way. It is
Uh,
like that something that has been completed has its continuity. Like, for example, you have work, you have now ensured that your children are cared for,
mm,
provided for. But
mm,
so that is not something that basically is occupies your mind all the time. But until the time that you have done, you need to do something for your children, your mind is occupied for your children. And
mm,
that is the humane end,
mm,
right? But once you have provided for your children, that aspect becomes complete, right?
mhm.
So in the same way, like once you have kind of you have a social standing,
Mm,
then you are not working towards getting a social standing because you already have it. So
right.
now your focus actually becomes upkar.
Mm,
So so each stage actually reaches a completion, and then after that it basically has a continuity.
right. Right. Now I get it. Nice. Thank you, Bhaiya. Thank you, Sheila Bhabi.
जी
बढ़िया, बहुत अच्छा।
बहुत बढ़िया.
So I wanted to also mention that in this course of last few weeks, I have been interacting with Didi on this, and number of good feedbacks that he has given, and which I mean, found that uh, uh, which I have incorporated, and it has enriched the book. I hope that you find time and interest in continuing your engagement with this, right?
I hope
As
so.
much as possible,
It was
right? And
definitely a learning time, like when you have a small little goal, one chapter or half a chapter have to do, and you put all your energy into it, but it shows the potential of studying. Na? When you study something really in depth, you go into it in detail.
yes, so I'm counting you in. Okay. So So with this, we will now close our today's session. It was a wonderful one, and the next one will be by Anisha Didi. She has some engagement at work, so there is a little iffy over there, but hopefully everything will be all right. And Anisha Didi will be presenting chapter number 10 on the next Saturday. So until then,
So,
I
Bhaiya, I just raised my hand. Sorry. So, if
Acha,
we have,
Didi.
yeah, if we have 10 minutes or so, 10, 15 minutes, Like, I would love to know from Sheila Didi about her interaction with Babaji. If she can just share something.
Yes,
It's always
yes.
a treat to meet someone, and you had such a long, beautiful association. So, we are always thirsty to hear about interactions with Babaji.
So, I'm in a workshop just now also, and somebody had asked me a similar question. So, I'm like, it's right and fresh in my mind at the moment. So, Babaji, when we first met him, he was in his 70s and young and very active. And so, I'm giving you a real picture of what he was like. And he would entertain all kinds of questions from us. He was more like a Dadaji, very wise Dadaji than the kind of guru kind Babaji. He was not like that. He was more like just a part of the family. And I was not, I didn't know how to behave with this wise kind of person. So I only knew how to behave very informally with him, with older people. So, and he took it, right? He would take all kinds of questions and exclamations from my ऐसे थोड़ी होता है types. I would do all kinds of impolite reactions, and he would take it. So that way, he was an inspiration for us in terms of how to be. What is the word for sahaj, transparent person, teacher, family member, and very natural person. And I think it was with his inspiration, definitely, that our marriage, our wedding was able to go through. He took, I remember when he only advised us that we should come back from, I'm jumping the story. But we were in Bijnor for a year or so when the education thing started over there. The first school started, and but then I conceived my first child, and he said, "No, you should go to Delhi and go back to Delhi, to the big city, and be with your family." And I was so worried about pollution and my baby being in pollution and stuff. I said, I literally picked up my finger and I said, फिर उसकी सेहत की जिम्मेदारी आपकी है it's your responsibility for her health. So all such impolitenesses I've done this with him, but he said, हाँ पक्का मैं मेरी जिम्मेदारी, and he actually took that responsibility for ages after that. So that is our relationship. My personal relationship with Babaji has been very informal, right? And I had somewhere there's this little bit of guilt that I didn't take his Wangmay, his writings seriously right from the first time. But okay, finally I did, so I kind of redeemed myself. That's it.
So nice of you, Didi. I mean,
Thank
always
you.
learn something very intuitive and homely to interact with you.
Yeah.
So yeah, please. So we hope that you will keep your association with this English team and keep
Sure.
providing your inputs for this. Yeah.
I will definitely. It's been a pleasure. This chapter has given me more energy now.
Mhm.
So yeah, Adhyan is always energizing and inspiring, definitely.
Okay. So we will now close this session and we will meet again on Saturday. Wish you all a very nice day.
Good
and
night to
evening.
everyone.
Good night.
Thank you.
Don't look who's
Namaste.
there.
Good night. Thank you, everyone. Good night.
Good night.
Bye.